I agree. Let's talk. Mitt Romney broke with Republicans, voted for removal. A lot of hot-blooded things being said. Donald Trump Jr. calling for him to be expelled from the Republican Party. Lou Dobbs saying, this is a quote, Lou Dobbs saying Romney is going to be associated with Judas, Brutus, and Benedict Arnold forever. I mean, look, one of those guys betrayed Jesus. Another guy betrayed Caesar. Benedict Arnold betrayed the American Revolution. So, holy Toledo, saying that about Mitt Romney. You think that's fair? I mean, do you think he's really getting beat up on now?
Yeah, so it's obviously exaggerated hyperbole. I think it's wrong. I was asked right away about the Don Jr. Tweet by the national media, and I said no, I disagree with them for a couple of reasons. First of all, you're exactly right in pointing out who those three traitors were and what who they turned on, and this is not the same thing. Second of all, impeachment. Frankly, any vote in the United States Senate is cast not for the party or the president, but based on your own conscience and to your own constituents. And I would maintain that with regard to impeachment itself and the trial, that the trial is what you sit through for days and weeks and hours and late into the night, early into the morning, hearing all of the evidence. There's not a committee that takes it up. It's the entire chamber. That you really are the subject matter expert. And at the end of the day, if you have to do something that is unpopular with your constituents because your conscience or your intellect or both require that of you, it's your job to do what you feel you need to do and then explain it to your constituents, not necessarily take a poll. I think on other things it's different, but certainly not on impeachment. So from that standpoint, it's very harsh and very inappropriate. But with regard to expelling, for example, as Don Jr. said, and you'll find me all over the place, and from Time Magazine to Newsweek, saying I don't even know if that's possible. We don't. Parties don't pick. People pick what party they want to belong to, what party they want to associate with. Now, you might get an endorsement. Obviously, you win a primary, you get a nomination from a party through that process, but that's the process. There's not like a high court of republicanism that states thou shalt not be a Republican anymore.
And sometimes that works. Sometimes that's problematic. I mean, there was
sure.
in North Dakota, there was a gentleman who was an outspoken white supremacist who was, showing up at Republican meetings and describing himself as a Republican. And I mean, that was hard because there's no way to really stop him from coming to a public meeting. And there's no way to stop him from describing himself as a Republican and saying, I guess you could refuse if he tried to pay dues or something, refuses his check. But
sure.
I mean, other than just saying, listen, this guy does not espouse things that we believe in, there's really not a lot you can do in terms of like expelling somebody from the party.
Right. You can denounce them as a party, as a party organization, legislature, whatever you want. You can do all that. But at the end of the day, you don't just quote expel them as a Republican. And by the way, as I've said, I'm glad.
I'm just going to say that. Why would we not want Mitt Romney in the party? I mean, he's, as a conservative, and listen, when Mitt Romney was running for president and we had the Romney Care thing, I mean, he's done some stuff in his political career that it just has me scratching my head saying, I don't understand how you got there, Mitt. But 85% of the time, he's with me, right? I mean, Mitt Romney and so I'm looking at that like, why would you not want somebody like Mitt Romney to be a Republican? I mean, okay, he disagreed on removing the president. And hey, if I'm the president's son, I can understand maybe being a little more hot-blooded about that than other people. But for crying out loud, you political movements grow by adding people to the movement, not.
Well, and let me give a real specific North Dakota example, and I'm a little reluctant to do it, but I think it's important for North Dakotans to hear a North Dakota example. When Donald Trump nominated Dan Train to be the district, federal judge in Bismarck, every Democrat opposed him, and the reason they opposed him wasn't because he's a bad lawyer, because he had the highest ranking you could get from the ABA and several others. He's well known, throughout the judiciary for his qualifications. They did it because he was a former Republican Party chairman and a Republican activist and a member of the Federalist Society. They just hate that stuff, anything that reeks of conservatism. And so every one of them opposed him. Dan Traynor is a judge today by getting 51 votes in the United States Senate for confirmation. Well, Romney's one of those 51. So if he wasn't a Republican, Dan Traynor likely wouldn't be a judge, or we'd have to call this, the vice president and draw him. That I don't know if we do that. And there are several other 51 member votes. Yeah, that's the Senate's a place where you can't afford to burn a lot of bridges to still be successful.
Let's keep moving. State of the Union address. I liked it, and I say that not a fan. I mean, you said earlier, my criticism of President Trump that he's not an ideologue. My problems as a conservative with Donald Trump is